Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Jesse Rodriguez, known to many as Magnolia Grown, is a Houston-based artist whose work begins with memory and blossoms into cultural storytelling. Each of his paintings and sculptural assemblages is built from layers of personal history, community identity, and architectural remnants from Houston's historic Magnolia Park Barrio, where he was born and raised. A graduate of the Art Institute of Houston, Jesse spent a decade leading a graphic design team for brands like NASA, Pennzoil, Hanes, and Brianna's salad dressings before returning to his first love, fine art. In 2017, he opened the Magnolia Grown Gallery inside a shuttered YWCA, hosting Magnolia Park's first ever art show, which drew over 500 attendees and became a turning point for community-driven art in the neighborhood. His work has since been featured in the Houston Chronicle, ABC 13, and The Venture, and recognized by civic leaders including Mayor Sylvester Turner and Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, who honored Jesse in the U.S. Congressional Record for his sculpture Dale Shine, now housed in the Cheech Center for Chicano Art and Culture. As founder and president of Magnolia Park Arts and Community, Jesse leads inclusive arts initiatives such as La Escuelita and La Casita, designed to nurture creativity in underserved communities. His latest work, Corazón de mi Madre, a tribute to his mother, Veronica, who is currently on display at the Muckenthaler Gallery in Los Angeles. Jesse lives and creates in Houston with his wife, Joanna, their children, and grandson, still inspired by memories that started it all. Please welcome to the podcast, the heart of Magnolia Park, Jesse Rodriguez.
So, Jesse, Sue and I are so happy to have you on this podcast. And I first met you when Renee Rodriguez had asked both of us to be an artist for the state capitol. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how important that was, you know, and when she asked me personally, she says, oh, you got to have a 60 by 60. You know how big a 60 by 60, well, you know how big 60 by 60 is. And she proceeded telling me that it was going to be held at the state capitol. We're going to celebrate September 16, which is Mexican's Independence Day. And I really did not know until we started having those Zoom meetings that it was a big thing. And then I met all the other artists and then speakers. And then I got really scared because I'm just a hairdresser. And I do this painting on the side. You know, it's not, I don't do it for a living. I do hair for a living. So I was a little bit taken back by all the artists that were going to be there. And then when I saw everybody and met everybody was so nice, and it was so refreshing. So I thank you for all this. But can you tell the audience about what we did at the Capitol, when it was, and what the significance of these days?
Yeah. So real quick, that's the 6th of September, September 16th. It was also an eye-opener for me. You know, I did not know the history of September 16th. I did not know why the people of Mexico would always yell "Viva Mexico." You know, the word the city of blank. Well, you know, that was a big word in my family. My grandma, you know, she lived with us for a few years, and I would always hear her say, she'd be cooking in the kitchen, listening to music, and she just felt that, I knew she felt something, but I didn't know what it was. And I would hear her, "Aguato," and all my life, never knew what it meant to her. And in my art pieces, I just don't, when people say, oh, paint another art piece, I just don't start painting. I actually do a lot of deep research. I do a lot of data research. I do a lot of, YouTube and the library. I get into it in my paintings, as you can see. And all the dots started connecting, and my eyes would just get bigger, and my creative mind would just keep going and going. Guanajuato, and I go to Guanajuato or research on YouTube, the 6th of September, and all these stories came up about the preacher. I saw the preacher, Hidalgo. That's another word, Hidalgo. And all these words, will come up, and I'm like, wow, start connecting everything. Like, wow, so that's what this means, September 16th, a day of Mexicans' independence when they, from Spain, and it was like, and I lived around everything. I mean, 3 blocks away from when I grew up as a kid to now, there was always a statue of this man, never knew what it was. I just knew it was a statue of a man.
Uh-huh.
The name of the park is Hidalgo, Miguel Hidalgo. I'm like, wow, never. I started researching the park. The park had a lot of symbolism and significance to the community because it was a park bought in 1923. It was bought by a bunch of Mexicans from the East End, from Houston, Magnolia Park. They bought this property that it was a landfill, a trash landfill. Nobody wanted it. The city was getting rid of it, so these people from the community put their money together and they bought that park. And then they named that. At first, it didn't have a name. It was just called Mexican Park, Mexican Park. And then after a while, it got annexed by Houston, and then they were like, well, you got to give it a name. And then that's when, in 1932, is when we got annexed by Houston, and it was named Miguel Hidalgo Park. But from 1932 to now, I never knew who that statue was of. It's just crazy how if you don't point it out to somebody, they will never, never, never know. There's probably people in my community right now that don't know who that man is or the history behind that statue. And it's crazy how everything tied to the day in Austin, and just being there with family and friends that traveled there and met artists. And it was crazy, Lulu, because all these artists, we got together and it's like if we knew each other right off the top. And that's what artists do. We have no walls. Well, I don't. I have no walls or gatekeeping. I love to share everything, and it was just so. It happened so fast, and that was the part that I did like. That we went in and we came out, but I wish we could have stayed a week there and got to know each other. And the people from Austin, with open arms, took us in. They took care of us. The Capitol, the directors, Renee, NHPO. I mean, it was a year in the works, and everything worked out perfect. Yeah. Thanks to our team.
Right. So can you scoot over, and for those that are on YouTube, show your painting, what you did at the Capitol, for the Capitol?
Yeah, so there it is. The main topic was past, present, future. It started, September 16th. That was the date I got the celebration for. So everything just started going from there, and researching, looking at YouTube videos. Everything that I looked at, everything was just layering in my head. I'm like, okay, I got that. And that's what I do. I layer everything, and then after I have it shot in my head, I call it a slideshow. I have a slideshow in my head, and this is what became of it.
Isn't that beautiful? That is really, really detailed, and I like that. So when we went to the Capitol, and your piece was on a flag, or it was upright, so you rolled your canvas.
Yes.
And, which was a great idea because Renee had told me that in the rotunda that it is so big and your piece would get lost. So that's why she was suggesting that we would do 60 by 60. But you took it one step further by doing it upright in a flag form.
Yeah. Me as an artist, I'm also I can do A to Z. I was born unfortunate, so I had to fix everything. Everything that broke, we had to fix. And so design. I'm a craftsman. I'm a metal, art, wood, anything. I can create. I can build anything. I can fix anything. But being an artist, so I went by the guidelines. The painting is 60 by 60. The painting. But I went beyond. I'm like, well, you know what? I have to figure all this out. And then, researching, I started seeing pictures of Miguel Hidalgo holding the flag of the Guadalupe, which was the official flag of the fight. And the Guadalupe is just burnt everywhere, So when I saw him holding that flag, I was like, you know what? I'm going to present this piece. And also I heard from another artist friend of mine, Angel. He goes, I'm going to do mine like on a flag format, So that stayed in mind, But us as artists, we just don't think about the painting. We got to think about what it's going to be created on, how are you going to present it? How are you going to get it over there?
Yeah,
That's
right.
another big thing. People don't understand, the background. Like, you either got to pay a delivery service that's going to take care of your piece of art, are so big. Well, how are you going to fit it in your car on the top? Or so I started doing. I started, I figured stuff out. Like, okay, well, if I paint it, I can roll it in a PVC pipe where it stays nice and curl, no creases or anything. And then I can roll that into another big old PVC pipe, and I can transport it. And sure enough, it was only 6 by 5 inches, that was into the car, and that was it. And that just my creative part of doing that, the transport. But yeah, people had square canvases. I don't know how they got those in the cars, and
Yeah.
but as artists, we managed to do it somehow. We what should be weird, we make it happen. We trigger our nose and it happens.
So cool. Well, Jesse, growing up in Houston's Magnolia Park clearly shaped who you are today as an artist. What about growing up in that neighborhood has had such a lasting impression on you?
Magnolia Park, established by the people of the community in 1909. It was actually the original boiling pot of Houston. It was an immigrant place before it was an immigrant place, because the first immigrant place was 90 when the Allen brothers came down from New York to East End to Magnolia Park. There was a man named Brady Lanning, Thomas Brady. He owned a lot of property. Matter of fact, the whole Magnolia Park was his land. Acres and acres of cattle ranching. Magnolia Park was actually a ranch. The Bradys lived on an island, which was called Brady's Island, which was, I don't know if I remember, Brady's Landing. It was a nice venue. It was a club. It was a space, where everybody gathered. But that was a place for the early immigrants, the Jewish, the Greeks, the Italians, the everyone that came from all over, from New York will come down to Galveston, from Galveston to the bays, from the bayous, and they will rest in Magnolia Park before heading to Houston, downtown Houston, via Buffalo Bayou, 1890, 1900. There was no freeways. There was no I-10. There was no 45. So everything was via Buffalo Bayou to Houston. And they built Magnolia Park, and there was a lot of history before us. But during the 30s and 40s, they started they became wealthy and they started moving out to the suburbs. We stayed there, and I'm talking about when we stayed there was a lot of the people from Mexico escaping and leaving the Mexican Revolution in 1911 and 12. They were coming up north and they were residing in Houston. So they actually helped build Houston and the ports. That was the most important part. And the United States. But we stayed, and we're still there. But little by little, 2025, 26, now with gentrification coming in, our community is getting lost little by little and slow by slow. So it's up to us to preserve the history, to keep the history there, and as artists, I think what I've done in the past 6 years was I brought pride to the community. I brought art to the community. I brought color to the community. I brought a lot of people in the community just even to come together. Knew that they were there for so long, but they never knew each other. So my events bring people together, and it's like, wow, and that's what art does. And now, slowly by slowly, we have to leave that. We have to leave that mark. We have to leave our mark, and somehow, how do we do it? We do it like our indigenous people did. We did it like our Aztec. We leave pictures on walls, on buildings, on caves, and so that's what I do. That's what I do for my community of Magnolia Park.
That's cool.
Jesse, you invited my husband and I, Frank, to your gallery, and I was so impressed by the mixed media that you put in the whole gallery. You said that next door, I think it was next door, you got all the lumber, and that's where you make the frames.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then you got I think there's a door that it was your grandmother's?
Yeah,
And
my
you
grandmother.
you have photographs in there. And then you painted your grandmother, and behind in the background was cotton.
Cotton.
So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So what I do with my art, first, I create a painting, and these paintings, they don't last. I don't even get to see them. As soon as I finish them, they're gone. People buy my painting, my collectors, they take them off of me. And these frames that are done, they're frames made of houses and buildings from my neighborhood that when my neighborhood was built in 1915. And this wood is still solid, hard oak, the good wood, that lasts us forever, And me driving to my mom to check on my parents now these days, I drive to my parents, I check on my friends' parents. That's what I do. I check on my peeps, all my people, because you never know, you know, you never know because they're always outside. They can fall down and they're stuck out there in the heat. But I'm always driving. When I have time, I drive around. And with gentrification coming in, I see these investors just knocking these houses down. Like, well, for sure, they don't care about these houses. They have no, all they see is the end part, the money part, the cha-ching part. We're going to build this $300,000 loft and we're going to, a condo, we're going to sell it and we're gone. Then next, and then knock down another house. So little by little, it's happening. But I see all this wood and all this wood to me, when I just see this trash on the curb, as me as an artist and me as a historian and me as who I am, I say that wood has stories because that's wood from a kitchen, that's wood from a bedroom, all those stories of the families and the struggles and, the opportunities that these families had, they'll be trashed. They'll be trashed and gone. The way I preserve them is I build frames. I built actually real nice custom metal wooden frames out of this, and to me, you can walk into the gallery at the Museum of Fine Arts or any other elite gallery and see these big gold encrusted frames and worth hundreds and thousands of dollars. I'm like, well, mine are worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah,
and they are.
yeah.
They're priceless.
Yeah.
I have a painting right now that it was borrowed from one of my collectors, who's also my cousin. The frame, he didn't know this. He thought it was just a wooden frame, and I'm like, no, that frame is from Grandpa's garage when they knocked it down, when it fell down. And my cousin just starts bawling and crying, like, that's Grandpa, because Grandpa will work in his garage at night, and we would see it. So that's preserved, in the family,
Yeah.
And so everything I do, and so there's a word that was created in California by a friend of mine I have, was also my collector, Cheech and some other, there's another artist who they created a word called rascuacho. Rascuacho means you work with what you have. Art it could be so much trash, but it's your treasure to create this. And sure enough, it's art, and you do what you got. You do what you got, and you build, you make something. And I have some pieces that are made like that, and they're masterpieces. One of them is actually in Cheech's permanent collection now. So, but that's what I'm telling you. We build with what we have, and that's it. The door for my grandma. The door was actually the door that her and my grandpa, when they came from Rosenberg, Texas, back in 1929. My grandfather drove a cotton truck from Rosenberg, Texas, all the way to the Port of Houston, which was around 3 blocks away from the house that you were in, Lulu. And the bayou was right there, so that was the cotton exchange. That's where all the cotton from Texas would come, and they would drop it off at the Port of Houston right there, and then from there it would get exported to, everywhere, China, wherever they would buy the cotton, Because back then, everything was made of cotton, back in the 20s, And so that door is actually the door that my grandma and my grandpa, when they bought their first little house in Magnolia Park, my grandpa said, I'm gonna buy Benita a house, and we're gonna move to Magnolia Park. So in 1929, that's when my roots were planted in Magnolia Park, and now my whole family resides in Magnolia Park.
Mm-hmm. Well, they say the fruits of your labor. So you've Magnolia Grove is obviously really deep in your spirit. You took the former YMCA, I think I've got that correct, and actually turned it into a fine arts gallery. That's so incredible. Can you, for our audience who may not be familiar with your work or familiar with the area, can you tell us about the events and the type of things you do at your gallery?
Yeah, so the YWCA, again, was a very important structure in the community. It's where the people will gather, And before that, there was the original building across the street, which was made of wood, the Benito Juarez Salon. And then that was built by the neighborhood, built by us for us, because, us too, we were discriminated. We couldn't go into those establishments. So the community, again, bought a piece of property, built this hall looking thing for every occasion: funerals, weddings, quinceañeras, political meetings, the ILAs from the Port of Houston. Back in the day, our people couldn't go into those meetings because we didn't fit in. So we had to have our own meeting. So they would push us away and go have our own meeting. My dad's 1956 prom was there. The proms, they also in the 50s, they couldn't go into their high school proms because, they weren't welcome, or they just, no, this is a whole different, y'all go have it somewhere else. So this building was real significant to the community. In the 70s, they built the YWCA across the street, which was more modern, brick, glass, and it was everything. It was the community. It was a place for the kids, the adults. It was for boxing. It was for basketball. It was for tennis. It was for daycare. It was for political meetings, and it was the same thing. It was just a newer establishment. During the 80s, the actually owners of the whole building, they couldn't. They sold it. It was like, all right, we have to sell it. They ended up selling it. So this wealthy man bought it. Ended up using it just for his warehouse. It was it was one of his buildings from there all the way down. He had several warehouses from there to downtown. He had a car collection. He had a boat collection. He had a motorcycle collection in another warehouse. And so this warehouse was just for his blueprints. He actually owned an architecture firm. So this whole YWCA was a boxes and blueprints and blueprints and blueprints. It was just a storage for him. So I caught him outside one day by the fence. This man's driving a Jaguar in my neighborhood, and we all know that, back then, you didn't have a Jaguar in my neighborhood. I scared him because I came from the sidewalk, because I caught him at the fence, locking up the fence, and he was leaving, and I go, excuse me, sir, I just want to give you my card. And I gave him a card, and he looked at it, and you're an artist? I go, yes, sir, I'm an artist. I just wanted to tell you, is this your building? He said, yes. Well, I'm an artist of the community, and I just want to let you know, we love this building, but it was once for the community, and if you ever plan to sell it, let me know. Find some funds, we can probably buy it. And he's like, okay, all right. He goes, so he started talking some more, and then I could tell, he wasn't from there. He was nicely dressed, had a nice watch on, and like, all right. Started talking more with him standing outside, and he looks at me and he goes, show me some of your artwork. So I started showing some of my artwork on my phone, and he's like, wow, he goes, and then he just comes out. He goes, I'm an art collector too. Wow, so it starts triggering to like movies that you see now where these wealthy people find an artist and they help support them and they build them and they have shows, and it was the same thing, right? So it was like, wow, and so we started. He goes, you have time? He goes, you want to go eat lunch somewhere around here? I'm like, sure, let's go down the street. Let's go to Mama Ninfa's. He goes, yeah, let's go to Mama Ninfa's. And he goes, she don't want to sell it to me. I want to buy it, but she don't want to sell it to me. So I'm like, man, this guy must have a lot of money to buy Ninfa's,
Yeah.
But anyway, we sat down and we talked, and so I told him, I go, as a kid growing up here inside the Y, everything was bigger back then because I was little, and I'm like, wow, these big walls, I want to have an art show here. We talk about the 70s and 80s and 90s, and then I finally had the opportunity. He told me, he goes, well, I love art. He goes, I love what you do. I love your work. He goes, I love your what you want to do for the community. He goes, my pace is not up to par. He goes, but you show me with the work you do, the people that you know. He goes, I don't have the time to do all this. He goes, but I have the money. And I said, well, I don't have the money, but I have the time.
That's made in heaven.
And the rest was history. Within the next few months, we converted that old torn down orange 1970s Y into a modern building, art gallery show. Hired a bunch of my art light electrician friends, my sheetrock guys. We built gallery walls. My family went in there and actually put up some acoustical ceilings up there. I mean, it took a village, and that's what I say now. It took a village, and it happened. So my first show, the first show in Magnolia Park, it was never an art gallery scene because we were the dark part of Houston. And this show that my family and my wife and my friends put together in the community, it was the biggest show that ever happened in the East End. We had a record crowd, and this was per invite only, invitation. It wasn't a public. So we had 500 people on Friday, we have 500 people on Saturday, and we have 500 people on Sunday. My wife sent invitations to everywhere, Museum of Fine Arts. Everyone came, and they're like, wow, how did you do this? And where, we didn't even know this was in this neighborhood because it was a dark white that was staying on the outside. But when you opened up these doors, everything was bright and colorful and stuff these people never saw before. These people in my neighborhood never been to a gallery or, couldn't afford to go to a gallery. And to this day, these families in the neighborhood, they still can't. You can't put your 3 kids in a car and fill up that tank and then go buy breakfast for all the kids and then go towards the Museum of Fine Arts and pay for parking. And then after parking, you got to walk across the street and you got to pay for your entry fee. And then from there, you got to pay to get a, lunch.
Yeah.
And so these families, for many, many, many years, we lost those opportunities. And now what we do is we brought it into our neighborhood, and it feels nice to see everyday people who roam the streets and bicycles and
Right.
the unfortunate people, but they're in the gallery. They're stopping by like, what's going on here? Like, come on in. What is this? Like, it's an art show. It's a gallery. Like, and they get off and they tie their dog to their bike and they tie their bike to the tree. And these people, you can tell they don't have nothing, but they're in the gallery and they're sipping wine and giving away free wine. Seriously, we have pictures and they're sipping wine and looking at art. And I turn around this way and I see a abuelita in her chanclas in her little kitchen moo and she's looking at art. So they feel comfortable. They don't have to get all to go fit in. And that's where we hit hard in our community with art. We make people feel at home, not just with the galleries, with our casita, with every event we have. I mean, it just feels safe. We're a safe place.
It just almost brings me to tears because I think 2 things that are universal that soothe the soul are art and music.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't put a dollar sign on a soul. A soul
Exactly.
is the soul. So it's just so fabulous what you...
Yes. So you're saying art and music. Those are other key words in my soul. Years ago, researching art and artists and finding my culture and going back, to the indigenous, to the Aztecs, to the Mayans. One of my paintings that I have there is called the Masters of the Renaissance, the Masters of the Chicano Renaissance. And it's a painting of my masters and my mentors. Mm-hmm. Researching all this, I went way back to the Aztec and Mayan days, and there's a god, his name is Xochipilli. Xochipilli is the Aztec Mayan god of music and art. Mm-hmm. So every time I paint, I have this picture there. I put jungle Aztec music on, and I put the incense on, and I'm in it. By the time I'm done with the painting, I have a feather and a piece of leather. But but seriously, my paintings, they're real meaningful, they're real impactful, and there's stuff behind it that people don't know what I do to create this, and that's, everybody's like, you need to do one live, and show people what did you do and how you get into it, and we're thinking about it, so we might do a show like that. And that's why these pieces are so unique. I mean, literally, you saw some of my pieces you haven't seen, or the 64 Impala, the car, realistic, the Masters, the crabs, the Jaivas, the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary is a big symbol in my slide. She's everywhere.
Yeah.
My grandmother and my mom made me, before you go outside with all your crazy friends, and say the prayer to the Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ and JFK and Martin Luther King and all right, that was every day. So, and I leave my house and I go down the street to give me a soda, a Coca-Cola in the store. There's a cow, and there's the Virgin Mary when you walk in. Then, all right, let me go get me a piece of bread from the bakery. And I go to the bakery and there's a calendar with the Virgin Mary and the Aztecs. And hey, go check on your dad. He's at the repair car shop. So I go to the car shop and then all the guys are out there drinking and working on the cars and in there also the Virgin Mary. And I couldn't leave her, so she's embedded in my head. Then I get home and all my uncles are outside, music and, hanging out. And back on my uncle's back, there's a Virgin of Guadalupe, it's like Virgin, it's everywhere, But in my paintings, she's
there she is.
I love that.
So, Jesse, did you start out as a graphic artist?
No. One of my best friends, one of my old best friends, Pablo Picasso, he has a quote that says, "Everyone is born an artist. Mm-hmm. It's only if you pursue it." Mm-hmm. Pablo
Right.
Picasso. So growing up as a kid, you go to school, you're in your house, you buy your colors and pads and coloring books and this and blocks and everything, So I was always an artist, and then going in, and then your family knows, who the artist of the family is, and pursue it, and you're gonna keep going, and you're gonna be an artist. And but you talk about artists from the '70s and early '80s, which was commercial art. There was no computers or anything, so everything was painting. Everything was hand cut. Photography was a big part of our tool. Xerox machines, overhead projectors. Then I got a job at a billboard place down the street from where I worked. Also, a side job. Billboards back in the day. People don't understand that. Like
Yeah.
billboards were painted on and then taken, transported, put up. But no, I was always an artist. And then growing up, my dad said, "No, I'm going to invest in you, and I'm going to say you're going to be the first person out of our generation to go to a college." And like, wow. So I had to live up to that. I had to, okay, I got to do it. So my dad was the third Mexican bus driver for Metro in Houston back in the late '70s, early '80s. And he goes, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna put you through college, and so I ended up enlisting to the Art Institute of Houston back in '88, '89, and '90, and I think '91. And it's a 3-year program back in the day. And when I started, everything was it was called commercial art. There was no such word as graphic designers or computers or internet, or there was none of that back in the day. So starting this program, we were teaching us the old stuff, and towards the end, the last year, a computer that finally we were preparing for our graduation portfolio review, which means our institute will invite all these design firms, graphic houses, advertising firms, billboard companies, printing companies, and they will come to our graduation. And we had like 20 artists that survived, and we will put up our work that we did through the whole 3-year course. And then the companies will go and say, "I like his work, I like his style, I like his techniques," and I graduated first out of my class, so I got all the attention, and I was like, well, it's just because my creative mind, and it was like. But before that, 2 weeks before graduation, our dean stops us. Well, I mean, we're all in class, we're getting everything ready, and we're gonna hang this up here. We had our sections. It was like a little gallery setting for the artists, and these 6 guys came in. He goes, "I have to stop everybody." He goes, "Everybody, put y'all's tools down, y'all's paint brushes or whatever y'all doing, and give these guys 30 minutes." So these guys come in, and we go into the auditorium, and they do the whole spiel, and these guys with black shirts, long sleeve shirts, and blue jeans, and like, who are these guys? And then they introduce them. These guys are traveling around the United States. They're trying to get some investors and anybody to help them on their future. They're trying to build something. So this guy comes out with this big box and then another big monitor, TV, big old monitor. Bring it out, and well, right now this thing just does letters and numbers. We trying to figure out how to put pictures in here and all this, and we are Macintosh, and we're from the Silicon Valley, and they put the center next to Steve Jobs, and we're like, at that moment, we didn't know who these people were, nobody knew. For $1 a share in Macintosh, you can invest in the future of this is, we didn't know, and again, we're starving artists, we didn't have 50 cents for a Coca-Cola or Prisma, a little bitty color, a little brush, and we were barely making it, and it's like, man, $20 is all I need, $20 from each one of y'all, and there was opportunities that came by and we lost, and I won't be here right now talking to you about what I bought $20 in Macintosh.
Yeah.
That was the opportunity. So after that, I was intrigued with the future, which was graphic design. So from 1991 to 2016, all I did was graphic design. I grew up the ladders from a production artist to a helper to a graphic designer to a graphic scenery designer to an art director to I was the top. So once I got up here, I'm like, shoot, I can't go anywhere else. But once you got up there, it was stressful because you had deadlines, and people don't understand that part of an artist or a graphic designer is that we can't put a time to it because we're creating, but all these people selling art had no clue how long it took to do it. So when you got 7 guys selling art and one person doing it, by the time I got home, I was stressed out. I was hurting. I was and then brought problems home, and arguing with my wife, and I'm like, no, we can't do this no more. I'm not gonna let that interrupt our family. I gave up. I gave up the Fortune 500 graphic design careers. I went back to art. So I sat down, like, how could I use art in my advantage to help my family, to help me, my wife, my kids, and then it went to help my community. Yeah. So that's what I did. I used those tools, and I spread the wealth. I share the wealth. With artists and young artists, old artists, I show them how to market themselves. And that's the thing I see now with artists. Everyone can paint. Everyone can paint. But if they don't have the marketing skills and the advertising skills on how to promote themselves and push themselves, believe me, this was not me 6 years ago. I did not talk in front of people well. I was shy. I was like, no, I don't want to talk, and I still see that in other people. And you have to let loose. You have to let it out. You have to, because you never know who you're going to meet that day. You never know who you're going to meet today. Mm-hmm. They might have a connection, and sure enough, everything happens for a reason. This world works on energy, and been blessed. Been blessed by the man upstairs. Been blessed by my family, my friends, my community, my artists, brothers and sisters, and it just keeps going. I mean, every time I hit this level, I'm like, all right, I think I'm done. And then, more stuff keeps coming. I'm like, wow, what's more to come? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I just love to talk.
I'm laughing because I have a devotion to Mary. And I'm thinking, as a little boy, you have these symbols, your mother's making you do this, but yet, in your later career, at your most stressful point, I think she let you figure out that you were the wealth. Yeah. You were the wealth. And you're sharing yourself through your art and through your community. It's really beautiful. It's just great what's happening.
Yeah, and I don't get tired of it. I don't get tired of my mom, my dad saying, I'm proud of you. I mean, it's like every time I see them, I'm proud of you, son. I'm proud of you, son. And it just, that's all I need. I don't need the wealth. I don't need the money. I don't need, as long as my parents, thank God they're still with me, and
that's a blessing.
When they tell me that, it's priceless. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of y'all. Y'all made me who I am, and put me through school, and that's worth trillions of dollars to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you have, you talked a little bit, you kind of gently said it, Cheech Marin, who has a center for Chicano art, and you're featured in that gallery. Can you tell us a little bit specifically about that work and how that relationship kind of happened?
Sure. So I was introduced to them by a friend of mine and one of my wife's cousins, Richard Rodriguez and Melissa Richardson Banks, who she's also Cheech Marin's art manager. And this was 2007. This is when I was planning my first show. So there's a sculpture I did. It's called Dale Shine. Dale Shine is a quote from the Chicano language made up by the Chicanos. Dale Shine, go for it, hustle, make clean money. How bad do you want it? and it's just a word that was embedded in my head. So when I did my first show, Melissa said, Cheech, Melissa had told Cheech, you got to come see this piece. I've never seen nothing like it. There's a lot of symbolism in it. It is metal, art, photography. Everything that he did is one piece. And at that moment of that date for the show, Houston had a serious storm where Houston had totally flooded. And Houston was in chaos. So I pushed it to like the following week. I was like, water's going to recede. Houston's going to go back to normal. So let's move to the next week. So we did. And then we told Cheech, so we lost the opportunity for Cheech to come because he canceled too. So Melissa's like, no, he's going to have it again. He goes, but we can have a private viewing, for when you come down, and he'll open the doors for you. So sure enough, 2 weeks later, the first week we had a show which was, I'll tell you about the 500 Friday, 500 Saturday. And then the following week, it was a private VIP tour for Cheech, because he came back down. So he sees this piece, Dolly Shine, and he's just there, and he has the way he stands, and he's there, and he's looking at it, and he's just looking at it. He didn't want to leave, so we get ready to walk on to the next piece, and he's just there. He didn't want to leave that piece. And he looks at it, and he's like that. He goes, I want this piece. And we all look, and we're like, it's sold. It sold last 2 weeks ago, when you were supposed to be here. Hey, I couldn't make it. I canceled my trip, my plans. And I go, I understand, but... And he looks around, he goes, well, what's available? Like, everything's sold. He goes, what? Everything's sold? Never. I've never heard that before. Like, everything's sold. I had like 10 pieces, and everything sold. And so the art collector happened to be there, because the art collector was Mr. David Dutu, which is the owner of the Y, the whole gallery. So he had his office there. So he was there, right? He was there. And he was going to meet Cheech. He was taking care of business. And then he was like, I'll come out. I'll catch up with you in a little bit. So we're there, and we're walking the gallery. And Cheech is just looking. He goes, I want that piece. I go, it's sold. 24. How much is it sold for, Jesse? He goes, 24,000. Oh yeah. He goes, I've never bought a piece for 24,000. I'm like, well, I mean, I could do another one for you. I told him. And he goes, okay. And he walks away, and he's still looking at it. And so it's things like that, right? So he goes, call the collector and tell him, I just want to see, if we can, bid, see what, see if I can get it somehow. All right. So I called Mr. David, who actually was in the office down the hall down there. And I go, Mr. David, Mr. Cheech wants to talk to you. And, okay, I'll be down there. So he closed up, and he came down. And it's me, and I have a picture. It's me, him, and Cheech right there. And we're looking at the piece. And Cheech says, I want this piece. And Mr. David says, it's not for sale. He goes, I just bought it 2 weeks ago. Let me enjoy it, And she's like, I need it. I want it. And the guy's like, no, it's not for sale. He goes, is it? So Cheech is there. I offer you this much. And the guy goes, no, I offer you this much. And they kept going high. I'm looking at I'm reading the numbers like, wow, man. It went over 6 figures, and the collector says,
wow.
The collector's like, no, it's not for sale. So Cheech is like, Cheech wanted that piece. He wasn't going to leave with that piece. Like Cheech told him, I'm not leaving without this piece. And then the guy's, he's a business guy, so he's thinking. He pulls me aside. He goes, Jesse, you ready? He goes, I'm going to make you famous. I go, oh, and he's a faster thinker. He's a businessman. And I go, how's he? Whatever. So we get back. He goes, sit back and watch this. So we get back, and we're talking there, and we're looking at the piece. And we're just little, I had it in like a shrine setting, and all lit up, lights, flowers, roses everywhere on the floor. And people were actually throwing, when they visit the show. And he goes, Cheech, you want this piece? And he goes, yeah, I want this piece, man. I want this piece. And he goes, it's not for sale. He goes, but, you're opening up the first Chicano art museum in the world, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, okay. So they're going back and forth, and Cheech just looking at it. And I go, what are you going to do with it, Cheech? I'm telling him, and he goes, I'm going to put it in my mantle above my fireplace in his house, right? So to me, right there, I had to step aside, and I had to tear up for a little bit, come back in. That was the highest honor as an artist, from an art collector collecting thousands of art pieces. And he wanted my piece on top of his fireplace. And I told him, so you're going to move your mom and dad's wedding picture? You're going to put Dolly Shine up there? He goes, yeah. He said, yeah, man. And I just did the sign of the cross, and I prayed real quick. And Mr. David gets me, he pulls me aside. He goes, no, it's not going in your house. Cheech looks at him. Who's going to see it? He goes, your wife, Natasha, his wife Natasha, your maid, Maria, your little chihuahua, and that's it. Before it goes into your house, you're going to put it in your museum for 3 years, expose it to the people, Jesse Rodriguez, Magnolia Grown, Dolly Shine. That was in the contract. All right, so how much you selling it for? He goes, I'm not selling it to you. He goes, I'm giving it to you.
Oh, wow.
He donated it to Cheech. He gave it to Cheech. And it took years, but it got in there. And not only in the Cheech, this is the 3rd year turnaround of artists coming in and out. It just happened last week. 3rd turnaround of crowd artists that put their artworks up in this gallery. But there's a permanent section in this gallery that holds around 12 pieces. And Dolly Shine is in that permanent gallery. 2017, when I had that first show, I said to myself, and I promised myself, and I prayed to the God and Virgin Mary and Jesus and JFK and Martin Luther King. I said I would not only take my name and this piece into, I would take my community. And I did. I took my whole community, and we are in the Cheech permanent collection forever. Forever. So every time somebody goes to Riverside, California, their community is there. Our community is there.
That's awesome. That story is just awesome. So, Jesse, you often say that your art is about share memories. Can you tell the viewers how your own stories connect to your art?
It's life. It's life growing up in the barrio. The struggles. It's the struggles. It's the stories. It's real life. I see movies, Sons of Anarchy. I see Peaky Blinders. I see gangster movies.
Yeah.
I lived it. I'm from the Port of Houston. I've seen bad. I've seen good. I've seen everything. So I put that in my art, and I have a projective slide. You know how they're round, the projectors, the slides?
Yeah.
Mine is probably around this big. And I'm trying to catch up, I'm trying to catch up painting and do all these paintings. I have all these memories just growing up, with my mom. My mom, she was the root of the family at the home. She took, my dad said, I'm going to work and you're going to stay home and take care of 5 kids. And she did. And all 5 of us came out successful, educated a little bit, respected, because my mom took care of us while my dad worked hard every day. It's unfortunate. Every house, every family in this community, every house is different. That's what I'm still learning. My house could be the best house in the world, the happiest house, but next door there's stories, and that's what I'm finding out. There's good stories, there's bad stories. It's hard, because the heart that I have, I try to help everybody in any way, not just through art, but there's a lot of issues and topics going on in the neighborhood, and I know because I lived it, but I went around all the obstacles of drugs and violence and gangs. We weren't really a gang, but we stuck together because we helped each other. We protected each other. And back then, you had to do that. You couldn't walk the streets by yourself. But back as a kid, I literally, and this is growing up in the neighborhood, this is all you know. This is all they teach you to be in this stuff. But I literally fought for my community, didn't know the right things, oh, this is my territory, this side of the tracks is y'all's, and that's the house park, and this is our park, and we would literally fight for our communities. But you grow up and you get knowledgeable, you get wise, you get cultured, and you just start, wow, everything, all the friends that I lost just for fighting for a community, where you get older and you're like, well, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fight for my community, but I'm gonna do it the right way, with education, with surveillance, with everything, keeping your eyes open, what's coming, helping your elders, helping these kids, helping the schools, helping the churches. And that's what we do now. That's what I do now. And everybody knows that. And everybody knows my background. Life changed. Life's changed. My wife saved me. Actually, my wife saved me, moved me out of the community. But now we're back in the community, and that's what we do. That's what we do. And that's what I'm here for. And I'll be here till por vida.
Yeah.
It's for life, And, but every day, it's happening. People are noticing what we've done and what we're doing. So, they're jumping on, they're helping, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm blessed and thank everybody that supports me there.
Well,
That's it.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I think maybe Lulu had told me before the podcast that you actually run a nonprofit in the community. I can't remember the names. Maybe you could mention it to our listeners.
Yeah. So the name of the nonprofit is called, the acronyms are MPAC, MPAC, Magnolia Park Arts and Community.
Cool.
And that's another thing that we're not taught, in our communities. You hear it, you see it in other communities because you get invited to, West University, River Oaks, all these communities, they're all making it happen with lots of money and lots of people help. But we don't get educated on what do we form to help our community. I didn't know that. I didn't even know what a nonprofit was. I didn't know 501c3. We didn't know none of that because we're not educated in that. So we learned. We started talking to people. People started coming and helping us and going to classes, and we formed this thing, and I said, because before that we were just helping people out of our pockets. Me and my friends were like, hey, let's have a fundraiser for this family. Let's have a barbecue cook-off to bury Miss Garcia, or let's have a, everything was community based, community money. But people were saying there's money out there. There's lots of money on it. Well, how do you do it? Well, you got to write a grant. Well, we don't write grants. We don't know how. So there's steps and there's procedures, and so we started getting everything right. So now my wife and our professors, our doctors on our board, they write these grants, and slowly by slowly, this money is trickling into our. So now we're able to have these bigger, nicer functions, at the next step, the next level, but now with, art funding's cut, it went back down to the community, helping on all these events we have, until see what prevails from all this. I mean, we can always go back. Like my Uncle Cheech says, all we need is beans and rice and Jesus Christ. I can go back. To beans and rice, and we can adapt back to that. Or, the kids now and people now, they don't know what it's like to live with a fan in your window, for cool air. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what's next for you?
next, I haven't had a show in about 3 years because I've been so busy uplifting my community through art. Me and my wife and our board, our team, we started a summer program for the kids called Escuelitas. It's how we use art to educate our kids. Because me as a kid, if I saw a book and it didn't have no pictures, I wouldn't check out that book. It had to have pictures in it, and so, we're really visual people. We're bright, colorful, everything Mexican, Hispanic, Latin, Chicano, everything's bright. And that's what sets us aside from these galleries. Taking you back again, I'm moving, but going to galleries as a kid, everything was dark and scary and dark. And you go into the Cheech, the most beautiful museum you've ever seen so far, brightful, colorful, everything is bright. I mean, and that's what I'm starting to get into. I'm trying to get into bright colors. Also, what I'm getting into is letting loose. I come from the Fortune 500 companies where everything was real detailed, clean, lined, sharp, focused, high resolutions. And that's why I did it with my art. I'm like, no, you got to let loose. You got to. And that's what I found out. Art pieces that took me 2 months sold all right, but the art pieces that took me 3 hours sold for a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, let's start painting some fast stuff. But no. I forgot what our question was.
So looking ahead, what's next?
Okay, so we want to have we used to have galas where we raise a lot of money for our nonprofit, but now as an artist, I always go beyond not just your regular art show, your art gallery. So I have something planned. We've been talking about it, and it's probably going to take a year. But I'm still trying to figure out this because now that I'm a full-time artist, which means I have more time to do stuff, my wife is the big supporter of that. I have to really sit down and think about how would I have a show in a year, or what will I show, because I cannot hold a piece. Because the pieces are what makes me live, feed me. The pieces are what makes me pay my bills. It's like, so I'm researching. I have a few people that have a couple of change in their pocket, but there's ways to do all this. You find your supporters and your big, corporate, and you figure out. But you have to write it out for them, show them where all the money's going. But people trust me, people believe in me, and I think the next show is gonna take me a year to curate these nice pieces that I already have in mind what I want to do. But they're gonna be big pieces, and it's gonna be a show you've never been to in your life. It's real creative. It's real California, New Yorky put together, and it's here down south. And it's going to be something different. It's going to be the first show that's going to be different. It's going to be a talked about show, and just gathering all the people that want to be a part of it. Because everything I do is big and historical and impactful. But just got to figure out the plan. Or I can eat rice for the next year.
And frijoles.
Well, you're such an interesting person, and I hope you'll play along with us, but our audience always likes this little game we play where I ask 5 quick questions, and we ask you just to answer it. It's a little bit of our way of pulling the curtain back and taking a little bit of a piece, seeing one more little layer of Jesse. So, will you play our rapid fire with us?
Sure, I sure will.
Okay, here we go. Favorite artist who is inspiring you right now?
Right now, I will have to say it is. Wow, that's hard because I have my top five. Michael Basquiat, I like Basquiat. Salvador Dali, I like Salvador Dali. Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo, and a bunch of my new artists of right now that we still have that are alive with us. Leo Tanguma, Daniel Lechon, and Mario Gonzalez. Those are my mentors.
I've got some Google work to do tonight.
Yes. Please do. I'll send you.
Okay, this is one of my favorite questions. Soundtrack playing in your studio while you paint.
Oh, my phone's up there. Soundtrack would be, well, I follow my spiritual leads of Xochipilli music. I love all genres of music. I guess what really gets me going is my roots, my Tex-Mex music. Growing up as a kid, I would listen to Flaco. You know, my parents were playing Flaco Jimenez. Our families are tied in with Freddie Fender, the roots. You know, and then Tenu Tejano. You know, just the music that makes you move. And when I'm moving, I'm painting, and I'm painting. You know, and it's like it just brings it all out.
Yeah.
Just I guess Tex-Mex.
One word that best describes Magnolia Grown. One word.
It's gotta be Dale Shine. A lot of people don't know what that word means. A lot of people haven't even heard that word. Dale, D-A with an asterisk on top, L-E, Dale Shine.
Dale Shine.
Excellent.
It's a word. It's a Chicano word. Dale Shine, quoted to go for it.
Okay.
To go for it. To how bad do you want it? You know, you gotta work. You gotta work for it. You gotta keep going. Never give up. Never say no. You say no 400,000 times. You just keep going. And that's how I've been with art. You know, back in the days, and that's why I take these artists now, because back in the day, all these doors, museums were shut. So Cheech said, "Hey, I'll just open up my own museum. I don't have to be going to all the, door shuts and all this other stuff. You know, it's like we'll do it ourselves."
Yeah.
Dale Shine. Dale Shine.
Dale Shine.
Okay, here's a fun one. Sports car, Harley, or muscle car?
Ooh. Never been really a sports car guy. I grew up on the Barrio. You know, there was no new sports cars. Harley, to this day, I got offered a free custom built Harley. That's not my style. I guess I'm more old school. I love vintage bomba, round Chevys and rustic. And now I'm getting into the rustic patina stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I have friends that have like these $300,000 show cars. They're just shining them, and they're, no, don't stand away. Don't scratch it. I'm like, man, I don't have to worry about that. Just I want a rusty bucket, but it runs nice. So that's what I'm about. I'm about old on the outside, but strong working on the inside.
Cool.
If you had to describe one color that most epitomizes you.
I have a color that everybody knows me by, and I can just paint it. I can paint a square. Well, that's my symbol. Everybody knows me as. Well, growing up in the neighborhood, everybody would call me Green Eyes. Hey, there's Green Eyes. My whole family, my brothers, sisters will have Green Eyes. And so in my paintings, if you look at and I showed Lulu, in my paintings, there's a subliminal little square somewhere in there that represents me. And it has to be chartreuse green, real bright green. Yeah. It's what symbolizes me. And my first painting after 30 years, it was just a canvas divided in the middle with a bright, sunny skylight scene. And it was divided by a railroad track. And from the railroad track down was just solid black. And that was my neighborhood. We didn't have color. We didn't have brightness. We didn't have festivals. And in the middle of that bottom part, there's a little, right in the middle, I mean, you can see it stand out. There's a chartreuse little square, rectangle square that represented me. And I said, 2017, I said, I'm going to bring color to my neighborhood. I want to bring art to my neighborhood. And look at us now. Now we're striving. We're going. It's working. It's doing it. We're doing it. chartreuse green.
Yeah, love it. I love it. What a great answer. Yeah, I'm so grateful to my friend Lulu because she has connected me to so many fabulous people, and I hope that someday when I'm down hanging out in Galveston, I'll get a chance to meet you in person. You're
Yeah. Let me know. I
great
can
spirit.
make arrangements.
See how I just worked that right?
Yeah. You have a way of doing that. But, Jesse, we want to thank you so much for being on our podcast. I've learned so much from you. I learned so much from our culture. Yeah. And Sue was telling me earlier before the podcast, she says, "Hey, Lulu, are you getting into your culture now?" Or what was it you were saying?
Are you now an activist for your culture? Every time
Yeah.
I turn around, she's doing something new, which is fabulous, by the way.
And real quick, give me
Yeah.
30 seconds. So that's the important part right there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find all this till like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
I was nothing like this 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would just go to work, come home, feed my family, go on the weekends, go fishing, go to a dog park with the kids.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was our routine. Visit our parents. Now it's like we found it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do now. I go back to my community and I help. I just wish I had this when I was 18 years old, 20 years old. I wish I found this when I was, could you imagine how far up we would be, And so that's what I do with these kids. I want them to find it when they're young, now when they're 20s, 30, 40, 50. I want them to find it now. So that's what we do. And that's what we need to keep doing.
And Jesse, you have inspired me because one of our Zoom classes or one of our Zoom meetings, you had mentioned to us that you cannot forget the older people. You can't forget your culture. And you said that for us to leave a legacy, we have to remember those that came before us.
Exactly.
And that's what has inspired me so much to want to learn more about our culture. Just last week I attended the Flamingo Vivo in last week at the Opera House, and this girl had her dancers, these what do you call it? These Hispanic dancers. And did you know that it takes 12 yards of material in order for them to do this? Yeah. So I've learned that. The sombrero, when the mariachi throws his sombrero down, that means that he's courting the girl. So things like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And now I know. So thank you so much, Jesse, for being on this podcast, Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. We learned so much from you. Your art is just beautiful. I can't say enough.
Thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for all this, giving me the opportunity to talk to y'all, meet y'all, and we'll meet. We'll go have some drinks down in Galveston.
Yeah.
Heard the water's clear down there. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's blue.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/artists, icons, entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavides, on IG at Lulu Benavides, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavides.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.